and we face the east towards Jerusalem. Elder Mikhail, can you go ahead and open us up in prayer?
Our Father, most holy and true covenant God, most wondrous, large-hearted Father, we give you thanks and praise in Yeshua's mighty name, your Son, our Savior, our brother. Thank you for Father Yahweh for being so mindful of us, because we make so many mistakes, Father Yahweh. We know, Father Yahweh, word of death, Father Yahweh. But you make a covenant with us, Father, and give us love and protection, Father Yahweh. You allow us to be able to one day enter into your kingdom, Father, if we continue to follow your righteousness, Father Yahweh. We give you thanks and praise, Father Yahweh. We pray, Father, to keep our hearts soft and malleable, Father Yahweh, so we can see your word as you speak it, Father, through my brothers and sisters, Father Yahweh. Heavenly Father, thank you, Father Yahweh, for allowing us to be able, Father Yahweh, to discern your word, Father Yahweh. Father Yahweh, we ask, Father, to keep our hearts open, Father Yahweh. Not our brothers, Father Yahweh, to speak your word, Father, not their word, Father Yahweh. Because, Father, this is what allows us, Father, to follow you, to see your path, Father Yahweh, to see your truth. Thank you, Father Yahweh, Yeshua's holy and mighty name, and glory always be unto you. In Yeshua's name, amen. Amen.
You went live on your page.
Did I?
Yeah.
We don't have prayer.
How y'all feel? Y'all feel warm in here?
Who told you that? It showed up on your thing?
Yeah. It was like Yadon Yashirol is live now.
People look for the video.
And I was like, we lit.
All right, shalom. My name is Yadon Yashirah. I'm with my brother Yonatan Yashirah. Shalom. And the title of today's Bible study is Spiritual Guidance. Spiritual Guidance. And it says in the word that the Most High directs the steps of the righteous. And through our everyday lives, the Most High is giving us direction on how to get back home to the kingdom. Because every step we make, every decision we make, our mistakes, our overcoming mistakes, things of that nature, all are impactful in our ability to walk into the kingdom. And we feel as if, as a people, a wicked, adulterous nation always looking for a sign, we always feel like we got to have a sign from the Most High. Like he got to show us something and tell us something for us to do the right thing. Whereas in this word, he's given us instructions on what we do in our everyday lives. And in anything beyond that, it is the focusing of these commandments that is going to lead us into which decision we need to make and which direction we need to make. But we kind of don't want to listen to those instructions. We want what we want, and we want the Most High to co-sign what we want. But that's not how he operates. When you're the servant, you do what the commander or the master or the Most High says. You don't do what you want to do and then expect him to just accept it. And that's a different mind frame that we have to change and submitting ourselves to the will of the Most High and stop forcing our will on the Most High and forcing him to accept it and forcing him to be the Elohim that we want him to be in our minds. So we're going to open up first in 1 Corinthians chapter 12.
1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 1. Now, concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. You know that you were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols, even as you were led. Wherefore, I give you to understand that no man speaking by the Spirit of Yahweh calls Yahshua accursed, and that no man can say that Yahshua is the Master but by the Ruach Kodesh, the Holy Spirit. Now these are diversities of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are differences of administrations, but the same Master. And there are diversities of operations, but it is the same Elohim, which works all in all. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. For to one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another the gifts of healing by the same Spirit, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another discerning of spirits, to another diverse kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. But all these work that one and selfsame Spirit, dividing to every man severally as he will. For as the body is one and has many members, and all the members of that one body being many are one body, so also is Mashiach.
All right, so we have all these different spirits that are given to all of us to help us do the job that we're supposed to do. And it's different spirit given to different people, but it's all for the same body, for one body. And you want to look at yourself carnally as one body. We have one body, but we have many different things our body can do. But at the end of the day, it's for the same thing, which is to preserve your life, to preserve your physical life, to eat, to make yourself happy, to do whatever it is to preserve your flesh. That's the carnal understanding. But on the spiritual understanding, it's the same thing. We have many different spirits that all make up the one spiritual body, and that is to also to live, for you to live spiritually. Go ahead.
Verse 13, 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 13. For by one Spirit are we all baptized into one body.
All right, so if you haven't been immersed, you're not into the one body yet, because it takes for you to be reborn a spiritual creature for you to be in the body. That doesn't mean that you can't affiliate with that. You can affiliate with the body, but you have to be immersed in order to be part of that one spiritual body. You have to be reborn spiritually. Go ahead.
For by one Spirit are we all baptized into one body, whether we be Yehudim, Jews, or Gentiles, whether we be bond or free, and have been all made to drink into one Spirit.
So whether you be Yehudim or whether you be Gentiles, what's the Strong's word for Gentiles in there?
Let's see there. That is G1672. G1672.
That's ethnos.
And it may be ethnos.
That is G1672 is ethnos. So that's letting you know it's talking about whether you be of another nation. At the end of the day,
nah,
it's not 1672.
16
Hellenist.
Helen, yeah.
Hellenist?
Read the definition.
Helen from Hellas. A Hellen, Grecian or inhabitant of Hellas, by extension, a Greek-speaking person, typically a non-Jew.
Okay,
Gentile.
so it's a non-Jew. So this could be either the northern tribes or it could be Grecians. It doesn't say specifically. When it uses ethnos, it lets you know point blank it's not talking about Israel. So it's including those northern Israelites that were dispersed, that were not of the kingdom of Yehudim, or just an inhabitant of Grecia. So whether you be Yehudim or whether you be of the other nations or the northern tribes, at the end of the day, when you get that immersion, you become spiritually part of that spiritual body. That don't make you physical Israel. You can't get baptized into being bloodline Israel, which has its own responsibility. So they can become part of the spiritual body, but they can't be the physical body, because that's not you can't make yourself a firstborn. You can't kill off the firstborn and say, well, I'm the firstborn now. No, you still a secondborn. Go ahead.
For the body is not one member, but many. If the foot shall say, because I am not the hand, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? And if the ear shall say, because I'm not an eye, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? If the whole body were an eye, where were the hearing? If the whole were hearing, where was the smelling? But now has Elohim set the members, every one of them in the body, as it has pleased him. And if they were all one member, where were the body? But now are they many members, yet but one body. And the eye cannot say unto the hand, I have no need of you, nor again the head to the feet, I have no need of you. Nay, much more those members of the body which seem to be more feeble are necessary. And those members of the body which we think to be less honorable, upon these we bestow more abundant honor, and our uncomely parts have more abundant comeliness. For our comely parts have no need, but Elohim has tempered the body together, having given more abundant honor to the part which lacked, that there should be no schism in the body, but that the members should have the same care one for another.
So the members should have the same care one for another, because it says, verse 18, but now Elohim set members, every one of them in the body as it has pleased him. So all of us have been placed spiritually in the body as it pleased him to do the job that we were supposed to be doing. And if we are being put in this place to do the job, the Most High is going to direct our steps to do the job, because we were put and given those specific spiritual talents and ability and specific geographic location for a reason, to profit the body. Go ahead.
Verse 27. Verse 26. And whether one member suffer, all the members suffer with it. Or one member be honored, all the members rejoice with it. Now you are the body of Mashiach, and members in particular. And Elohim has set some in the assembly, first apostles, secondarily prophets, thirdly teachers, after that miracles, then gifts of healings, helps, governments, diversities of tongues. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? Have all the gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret?
So they have all these different spirits and all these different talents and all these different jobs. But when you have somebody that's prideful, what they will do is they will put all those positions on themselves, because they're jealous of other people's talents or other people's abilities, but they're not understanding the purpose. The reason you have these talents around you is because we all have specific talents to benefit the will of the Most High. So there shouldn't be any jealousy. You shouldn't be an eye jealous of a nose and a foot jealous of a head. And physically, if you're an eye, that's what you're going to be for the rest of your life, an eye. Your eye not going to just morph itself into an ear. But spiritually, you may start off as an eye, a seer, or you may start off as a foot. You know, you do a lot of the manual work, but things change, and the Most High can use you for the situation that he needs you to be used for. Go ahead.
Verse 31. But covet earnestly the best gifts, and yet show I unto you a more excellent way.
All right. Covet earnestly the best gifts. And what would you say is the best gift?
Well, definitely the gift of charity, you know, gift of love. Even if a person is sick or anything of that nature, you're able to manifest the character of Yah through your care for his people and forbearing with them, which is all encompassed in just loving one another.
Right, definitely. That's definitely one of the best gifts to give somebody. But like what Elder was saying, one of the best gifts that you should covet is the gift you have. Because we went right there to verse 18 where it says, point blank, he has set members, every one of them in the body as it has pleased him. So whatever gift he gave you to do, if you have it, that's the best gift, because that's the gift Yahweh gave to you because it pleased him for you to have that gift.
That's true.
But as far as the gift that you would give to somebody, love is the best gift you can give anybody. That's the closest you can give to somebody's life is love.
Yep.
Indeed.
You had something, Mama?
Yes, I need to know where you were reading.
We just read 1 Corinthians chapter 12. And we read the whole chapter. And now we're going to mishlay Proverbs chapter 16. Proverbs, Mishlei, chapter 16. And again, the title of today's Bible study is Spiritual Guidance. Spiritual Guidance. Proverbs or Mishlei chapter 16, and we're going to start this at verse 1.
The preparations of the heart in man and the answer of the tongue is from Yahweh. All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but Yahweh weighs the spirits.
So if all the ways of man are clean in his own eyes, that means you can't trust your own way, because obviously you're going to be biased to yourself. Go ahead.
Commit your works unto Yahweh, and your thoughts shall be established.
And that is the key. If you commit your thoughts, commit your works unto Yahweh. In other words, everything you do like you doing it unto Yahweh, then your thoughts will be established. Because if you have it in your mind, okay, I wanna make the most money at this job. Yahweh, I'm gonna do this job like I'm working for you. And my goal is to make the most money. You're not going to steal from somebody because you can't dedicate that to Yahweh. You have to remove Yahweh out the equation because you're like, you know what? Your spirit won't even allow you to even try to trick yourself into doing that. So if you are truly committing yourself, unless you're just in complete darkness, utter darkness, where a lie is just so comfortable with you, you're going to change the way you operate when you're committing your works unto Yahweh. Even your marriage, your job, your friendship, when you go to clean up, anything that you do, if you say, Yahweh, I'm representing of you, and anybody that looks at me knows that I'm named after you, and they need to see the blessing in this house. Your thoughts will be established. Go ahead.
Verse 4. Yahweh has made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. Every one that is proud in heart is an abomination to Yahweh. Though join in hand, he shall not be unpunished.
So if he made all things for himself, even the wicked, then we got to be careful. We got to be careful, because while we think, oh, we the chosen people, well, he made all things for himself. He may need some wicked people to be contrast to right. You can't have light without dark. You wouldn't know the difference.
Verse 6. By mercy and truth iniquity is purged, and by the fear of Yahweh, men depart from evil.
And when you go through Proverbs and Psalms, you could literally stop at every verse and try to go into a deep explanation.
For real.
Go ahead.
When a man's ways please Yahweh, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him.
If you have an enemy, this is your enemy, and he hates you, and you don't know why he hates you, but he hates you because maybe he thinks you're just a wicked person. Or he heard something from somebody else, or in your younger days you did this, or whatever the case may be. We have laws that try to curb that because we have to keep the commandments regardless of whether they are enemy or not. But there's a law that says if your ox strays away and you see the enemy of your ox running straight, and you know that's your enemy, you're supposed to bring it back.
Don't just ignore it.
Don't just ignore it. Well, that's good for his behind. Hating self. That's what he get. They ain't eating tonight. They ain't eating tomorrow, or whatever the case may be.
He ain't tilling his land.
The law says that you still have to do the good deed, whether the person is a good person or not. And how that can make you have peace with your enemies is because you said, you know what? My flesh says I should shoot the damn donkey or the ox. That's what your flesh is telling you to do. That's what he get. This is a gift from above. Right? But you say, you know what? Nah, all ways are right or clean in man's eyes. The commandment says I need to return this donkey. So you bring the donkey back, and the man is like, you mean you brought my ox or donkey or whatever back to me after I done did all this to you? Maybe I'm judging you the wrong way, because you sure don't sound like James said. James said that you's a wicked person. Wicked people don't do this.
That's true.
Go ahead.
Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 8. Better is a little with righteousness than great revenues without right. A man's heart devises his way, but Yahweh directs his steps.
All right, so tie verse 9 and bring that all the way back up to verse 16. The preparations of the heart in man and the answer of the tongue is from Yahweh. So when you devise your way to do something, Yahweh is directing your steps. But you think you doing something special, like you just this great guy that decided to be righteous. No. The preparations of your heart and man, Yahweh gave you that. Whether he gave you that through chastisement or whether he gave you that from just blessing you when you were unworthy.
And brother, too, unless you have the full manifestation of the gift of prophecy, we don't necessarily know what the future holds and what's the right and wrong way to go. The best we can do is just discern. And then, you go and you try one thing in life and you realize it doesn't work out and you didn't incur any damage from it. You're like, all right, you know what? Let me just take that as a sign from y'all to just hold off on that or go a different route. But other times you try to do something in life and it ends up in chastisement going in that direction. And you'll be able to see, there's different ways that y'all could stop us from doing certain things. But most times, we just have to discern the spirit. And the best way you can do that is just get into this word, understand what's right and wrong, and then you'll be able to judge better. Has Yahweh granted me success in this? Or has Yahweh thwarted the plan? And should I still, bullhead my way through? Or should I just take it easy and wait for y'all to open a door for any decision that we make?
And he makes it real easy on us. Because almost everything involving some kind of success, you're going to have to make a decision between right or wrong. Point blank. Lawful or unlawful. Because this is a wicked world. The adversary, the devil, is running this world.
Indeed.
So he's going to make you make a decision. So that half of this stuff you can't do because you know right from wrong. I can't do that. So I can't go that route. So that only leaves A and B. Now, what's in your heart? Well, I really want to do A, but I could do B. Well, I'm going to go after A because it's lawful and it's right and I'm not committing any breaking any commandments. Let me go after A. And if Yah wants you to do A, he's going to grant you the success in A.
Indeed.
If not, if he wants you to do B, he's going to put 50 different roadblocks in front of your face and to stop you. And then you say, nah, I'm ambitious. I'm persistent. I'm going to keep going. Then he's going to put that transgression right in front of you. Boom. You went through all this stuff just to get here. Now you're going to have to transgress to go beyond that.
Man.
Now you know B is where I'm supposed to go.
Yeah.
But you done invested. You done did all this stuff to get to here, to get to this level. And then Yah says, no, since this is the only thing you're going to listen to. Here you go.
And it ain't a blessing if you had to sin to get it.
Exactly.
Well,
it's not a blessing from Yah, at least.
It's not
the adversary, the devil, will bless you too. Bless you right into that lake of fire. Go ahead.
Verse 9, a man's heart devises his way, but Yahweh directs his steps. A divine sentence is in the lips of a king. His mouth transgresses not in judgment. A just weight and balance are Yahweh's. All the weights of the bag are his work. It is an abomination to kings to commit wickedness, for the throne is established by righteousness. Righteous lips are the delight of kings, and they love him that speaks right.
We are Proverbs chapter 16, and we're at verse 14.
Proverbs 16, verse 14. The wrath of a king is as messengers of death, but a wise man will pacify it. In the light of the king's countenance is life, and his favor is as a cloud of the latter rain.
And, we like to go around calling each other kings and all this stuff. Well, okay, you calling yourself a king. Are you fitting a description of a king here when a king is being described?
Divine sentences, judges righteously, seeks righteousness.
Righteous lips are his delight.
Verse 16. How much better it is to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather to be chosen than silver. The highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He that keeps his way preserves his soul. Pride goes before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall.
And you can mark that and highlight that right there, because you are not going to beat that system. You see somebody in their pride and their haughtiness, you can just step back. It's just like a tree that's tipping over, that's about to fall. It's coming. Go ahead.
Verse 19, better it is to be of a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud.
Verse 20.
He that handles a matter wisely shall find good, and whoso trusts in Yahweh, happy is he.
And he's happy because although his current situation may not be favorable, he knows that as long as he continues walking in righteousness, it's going to end well with him, because he knows the character of the Most High. He trusts him. That's why he says, you know, the wise in heart shall be he that handles a matter wisely and who trusts in Yah. Handling a matter wisely means you handling it lawfully and expediently. When you handle it lawfully, you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you're doing what's expedient, what's the best thing to do in a situation for all parties involved. Go ahead.
The wise in heart shall be called prudent, and the sweetness of the lips increases learning. Understanding is a wellspring of life unto him that has it, but the instruction of fools is folly. The heart of the wise teaches his mouth, and adds learning to his lips. Pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul, and health to the bones. There is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end thereof are the ways of death. He that labors for himself, for his mouth craves it of him. An evil man digs up evil, and in his lips there is as a burning fire. A froward man sows strife, and a whisperer separates chief friends. A violent man entices his neighbor and leads him into the way that is not good. He shuts his eyes to devise froward things. Moving his lips, he brings evil to pass. The hoary head is a crown of glory if it be found in the way of righteousness.
If it be found in the way of righteousness. And the title of an elder is something that is to be esteemed, because it's something that man cannot grant somebody. I can make you a president, I can make you a king, we can get together and vote somebody in or whatever, but we can't decide, hey, you're going to be 50 years old. We can't decide that. So that's an honor that's bestowed by the Most High. And you're supposed to give that honor to the elder. But at the end of the day, if you're a fool that was young, that just grew into an old fool, that doesn't mean that you have to submit to that. Because righteousness is righteousness regardless. If a little child tells you to do something righteous, you don't just not listen to them because they're a child.
Verse 32. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that rules his spirit than he that takes a city. The lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of Yahweh.
All right, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 4.
That verse from Proverbs about the lot being cast into the lap and the dispensing of Yahweh. You know, a lot of people will say, is the lottery bad? Or, you know, but that's that same thing when you cast lots. It's like a chance. It's like it's a gamble. You don't know, but the dispensation goes wheresoever fate will have.
What commandment would you take to say that the lottery is bad?
I don't know. I mean, it's one thing to squander. It's one thing to squander your money.
I just don't. It's like these super, you know, the commandments. We having a hard enough time keeping the 10 commandments. Hard enough keeping the first 2 commandments. We have a hard enough time. Loving Yah with all our heart, all our mind, all our soul. Hardest time.
Much less some other stuff.
Deuteronomy chapter 4. And see, the adversary of the devil will try to make you be a sinner by creating more laws for you, creating more oppression for you, so you become mad to the point where you're like, well, I can't do all this stuff, so I'm not going to do anything. Paralysis. So you just get paralyzed. You got people saying you can't drink alcohol. What? Where you getting this from? You a Christian, you shouldn't be drinking. You shouldn't be getting drunk in public. That's what you shouldn't be doing. or doing anything in excess. You shouldn't be drinking 15 gallons of water. That's not going to be good for you in one day. But at the end of the day, how are you going to make something a sin when the very first miracle the Mashiach did was turn water into wine? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But people will tell you anything if you don't read. Deuteronomy chapter 4, and we're going to start this at verse 5.
Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments.
Are you in chapter 4?
Uh-huh. Starting at verse 5.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh my Elohim commanded me, that you should do so in the land where you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great who has Elohim so near unto them as Yahweh our Elohim, and is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day?
And you can highlight that right there too. What nation that is so great, that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all the law which I set before you this day? Produce your cause. Show me your proof. Give it to me. Even if you say, your nation, we stole everything from you. Produce your documents. Show us something. And then you look at any righteousness that goes on in this law pertaining to the law. Where did it come from? Didn't come from the laws of Ma'at. Didn't come from there. Came from this Bible. Why your credit reset after 7 years? Where are you getting all this from? Go ahead.
Verse 9. Only take heed to yourself and keep your soul diligently, lest you forget the things which your eyes have seen, and lest they depart from your heart all the days of your life. But teach them your sons and your son's son, especially the day that you stood before Yahweh your Elohim in Horeb, when Yahweh said unto me, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they shall live upon the earth, and that they may teach their children. And you came near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire unto the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness. And Yahweh spoke unto you out of the midst of the fire. You heard the voice of the words, but saw no similitude. Only you heard a voice. And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments. And he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. And Yahweh commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments, that you might do them in the land where you go over to possess it. Take you therefore good heed unto yourselves, for you saw no manner of similitude on the day that Yahweh spoke unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire, lest you corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flies in the air, the likeness of anything that creeps on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. And lest you lift up your eyes unto heaven, and when you see the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the hosts of heaven, which you should be driven to worship them and serve them, which Yahweh your Elohim has divided unto all the nations under the whole heaven.
All right, so he gave those other nations these other things to be concerned with, to be caught up with worshiping the sun, the moon, and the stars, and all these different things, to lead them away from the children of Yasharal, to lead them away from Yahweh, to keep us sanctified. We were given laws, statutes, judgments to keep us on the narrow path to get back to him. The other nations weren't given that originally. So we are being led in different ways. They have evil angels that are over them, leading them to worship a moon or a sun or all these different things. Whereas we were given a spirit. We were given an angel of holiness that was to guide us into doing the right things. So we're going to read a little bit more about that. We're going to go to Book of Jubilees. Yobelem, Book of Jubilees, and we're going to go to chapter 15. And Book of Jubilees, if you do not have access to this, you can go to IsraeliteGathering.com, and we have access to every book that we'll ever read out of. All the Sefer writings, all the ancient writings. We have books that we don't even read out of, but are good research books to get further understanding on things that we do read out of. So we're going to Book of Jubilees, Yobelum, and we're going to go to chapter 15. And we're going to read verses 7 through 34.
Jubilees, Yobelum, chapter 15. And so we'll start at verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
Neither shall your name any more be called Abram, but your name from henceforth forever shall be Abraham. For the father of many nations have I made you, and I will make you very great, and I will make you into nations, and kings shall come forth from you. And I shall establish my covenant between me and you, and your seed after you throughout their generations for an eternal covenant, so that I may be a sovereign ruler to you and to your seed after you. And the land where you have been a sojourner, the land of Canaan, that you may possess it forever, and I will be their sovereign ruler. And Yahweh said to Abraham, and as for you, do you keep my covenant, you and your seed after you, and circumcise you every male among you, and circumcise your foreskins, and it shall be of an eternal covenant between me and you. And the child on the 8th day you shall circumcise every male throughout your generations, him that is born in the house, or whom you have bought with money from any stranger, whom you have acquired, who is not of your seed. He that is born in your house shall surely be circumcised, and those whom you have bought with money shall be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an eternal ordinance. And the uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin on the 8th day, that soul shall be cut off from his people, for he has broken my covenant. And Yahweh said to Abraham, as for Sarai your wife, her name shall no more be called Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. And I will bless her, and give you a son by her, and I will bless him, and he shall become a nation of kings, and nations shall proceed from him. And Abraham fell on his face and rejoiced, and said in his heart, shall a son be born to him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah, who is 90 years old, bring forth? And Abraham said to Yahweh, oh, that Ishmael might live before you. And Yahweh said, yes, and Sarah also shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name Yitzchak, and I will establish my covenant with him, an everlasting covenant for his seed after him. And as for Ishmael also have I heard you, and behold, I will bless him, and make him great, and multiply him exceedingly, and he shall begat 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation.
So he didn't forget about Yashmael. He remembered him as well. He blessed him carnally, but the spiritual blessings went to Yashak. Go ahead.
Verse 21. But my covenant will I establish with Yitzchak, whom Sarah shall bear to you in these days in the next year. And he left off speaking with him, and Yahweh went up from Abraham, and Abraham did according as Yahweh has said to him. And he took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and whom he had bought with his money, every male in his house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin. And on the selfsame day was Abraham circumcised, and all the men of his house, and all those whom he had bought with money from the children of the stranger, were circumcised with him. This is for all the generations forever, and there is no circumcision of the days, and no omission of one day out of the 8 days, for it is an eternal ordinance ordained and written on the heavenly tablets. And everyone that is born, the flesh of whose foreskin is not circumcised on the 8th day, belongs not to the children of the covenant which Yahweh made with Abraham, but to the children of destruction. Nor is there, moreover, any sign on him that he is Yahweh's, but he is destined to be destroyed and slain from the earth, and to be rooted out of the earth, for he has broken the covenant of Yahweh, our sovereign ruler. For all the Melachim of the presence and all the Melachim of sanctification have been so created from the day of their creation, and before the Malachim of the presence and the Malachim angel of sanctification, he has sanctified Yasharal, that they should be with him and with his Kodesh, holy angels. And do you command the children of Yasharal, and let them observe the sign of this covenant for the generations as an eternal ordinance, and they will not be rooted out of the land. For the commandment is ordained for a covenant, that they should observe it forever among the children of Yasharal. For Ishmael and his sons and his brothers Esau, Yahweh did not cause to reproach him, and he chose them not because they are the children of Abraham, because he knew them, but he chose Yasharal to be his people. And he sanctified it and gathered it from amongst all the children of men, for there are many nations and many peoples, and all are his, and over all has he placed spirits and authority to lead them astray from him.
So verse 31, and he sanctified it. First of all, for Yashmael and his sons and his brother Esau, Yahweh did not cause to approach him. And he chose them not because they are the children of Abraham. So what? They're Hebrews. He didn't choose them because they're Hebrews. Because he knew them. But he chose Yasharal to be his people. And he sanctified it and gathered it from amongst all the children of men. For there are many nations and many peoples, and all are his. And over all has he placed spirits and authority to lead them astray from him. This is why we can't follow the other nations, because Yahweh is not directing them to walk in righteousness unless he's pulling a special vessel out of the nations, which he does decide to use nations. He's not sanctified. What's the word? The word is escaping me. Anointed. He's anointed servants from other nations to do his will. But he didn't choose that nation in the whole. So the nation in the whole has angels over them, leading them to worship the stars, the sun, the moon, and to do these different acts to keep Yasharal separate. Go ahead.
Brother, I want to say something on that.
Go ahead, brother.
I just want to make a short statement, and you probably might want to add to it also, dealing with this circumcision on the 8th day. They expounded on it in this chapter, in this book, and they also talk about it in the Torah, in King James version of it. You know, about a man child supposed to be circumcised on the 8th day, and they talk about right here, if he's not, then he cannot, enter the kingdom and so forth. But I just want to expound on it just for a second, because many of us has not been circumcised on the 8th day, but it doesn't mean that Yahweh is not going to allow us, if we follow his will and righteousness, that he may allow us to get into the kingdom, because we were under Deuteronomy, the curse of Deuteronomy 28, because we, didn't do it, our forefathers didn't do what they were supposed to toward Yahweh, and so they're under curse, and, and we was led to forget, who Yahweh was, because we had to be chastised. But Yahweh says his arm is still stretched out to still. So he continually kept that door open. So when he was ready for us to come back unto him, he allowed us to. So that's why we sit there today studying his scripture, and publishing his scripture, to let everybody understand what transpired in the days of old to what is coming today, and how we, are supposed to follow Yahweh, for what he had said. He's opened the door for us today, because our forefathers made that horrible, willful mistake back in the day, So I know probably you might have something you want to say on that too.
Circumcision was given to the Hebrews. That's the covenant. That has to be done. And it says your soul be cut off. Your soul is your body, which means you can't come amongst your people. And to come into the kingdom, you have to be keeping the commandments. So just like any other commandment, if you're unlawful, you need to repent. If you're a man and you're a Hebrew and you're uncircumcised, you need to get circumcised. But the right way to do it, if we were in our land and we were brought up in the right way, we would get circumcised on the 8th day. In the 60s, they stopped circumcising Jamaicans. So any Jamaican that was born from like 60 something to like, and I don't even know if do they still do that? I don't know if they do. We have to ask Chanel. Chanel, do they do circumcisions in Jamaica now? Okay. So I know they stopped it. They used to do circumcision according to the word. Under the Catholic influence, they would circumcise all the children, but they stopped. So there's a generation of people my age and a little older than me that didn't get circumcised. So if you are in this word now and you realize you haven't been circumcised, you need to get circumcised. Yes. Because that is a law. Now, if the law was, if you break a law, that's it, you cut off from the kingdom, we'd all be cut off from the kingdom. That's right. So whatever it is, I don't care if it's circumcision or if it's honoring your father or your mother, whatever the case it is, if you're in transgression, you have to repent in order to enter the kingdom, because that's part of the endurance process. There you go. Now, Gentiles, that wasn't given to them. No. This is why they was arguing with the people in Greece, because these aren't children of Abraham. The children of Abraham were given that covenant, not the Euro Gentiles, not Japheth's children. Mm-hmm. They're not from Abraham. Go ahead.
Verse 32. But over Yasharal he did not appoint any angel, malach, or spirit, for he alone is their ruler, and he will preserve them and require them at the hand of his malachim and his spirits, and at the hand of all his powers, in order that he may preserve them and bless them, and that they may be his, and he may be theirs from henceforth forever.
Verse 32, but over Yasharal he did not appoint any angel or spirit. So that lets you know he didn't, that Yahshua is not some angel, and he's not just some spirit. He's the firstborn of the Father. He's Elohim. So that's different. We have Yahweh over us. That's it. We don't have the angel Michael or the angel Raphael or any specific angel that's over the children of Yasharal. No, we don't. We have messengers. That's why when they fell down and worshipped before an angel or a brother that came back that used to be alive, they said, "Get up! What are you doing? I'm a servant just like you. Don't worship me. You worship Elohim. I'm not taking any of that glory." I seen what happened to some of these other angels that try to steal the glory, that's locked in the bottom of the Euphrates or buried under the sand in the desert. You have something, Elder? Yeah. Go ahead. Just cut it on. Just cut the phone on. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad we went to that verse right there and you expounded on that, because talking about we don't even have Michael or Gabriel above us for that reason. Yes, Michael is the protector of the Israelites. Of the Hebrew people, is saying in Scripture, but that knocks a hole in when they talk about our Messiah is not an angel. Because I know that Jehovah's Witness in Hebrews chapter 1, they believe that Michael, when he's talking about Son of the Most High, Son of God, is our Savior. But he is not, because it tells you right there that the angels worship Yeshua.
Right.
It just goes to show you that how the Scripture, the Torah, backs itself up left and right. Where you most think you're reading about something else, it shows you. It verts back to another scripture in the Bible that expounds on it and shows you that Yeshua was the one that was used to be your Savior.
Right.
You know what I mean? And how it says Yahweh put himself over you, because he put no angels over you. He said right there in our scripture, you just read it.
How you gonna put an angel over us when we supposed to be judging the angels?
That's right. So it makes sense to say, but Rasharah, he did not appoint any angel or spirit, for he alone is their ruler. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to make a point on that, because so maybe it can blow out people's thought pattern on thinking that Michael, is when they say the sons of Elohim, that he's not Yeshua. You know what I mean? And then it tells you that no, it goes right back to what Samuel told. When Yahweh told Samuel, go tell the people, when you say you want a king, I can be your king and your Elohim. But still, we hard-headed. So this scripture right here, illuminates, that what Yahweh did for the children of Israel and for the other nations that
Right.
he wasn't ready for them to follow yet.
Right, right. And we don't want to take that out of context, saying that because he has spirits leading the other nations away, the other nations have spirits leading them away. This is why they're not held to the same standard that we're held to, because they have angels leading them away from the children of Yasharah. But that's because he's dealing with us first, and then he's going to deal with them through us. And then when he shows himself to them, then they know where to go. But we can't expect that we are going to follow a nation of people that are might be profiting or benefiting carnally on this earth and financially, and think that we're going to follow the same system that they do things, and it's going to be a blessing to us when we have no angel that's over us leading that direction. We chose to do that on our own to go the wrong direction. Go ahead. Verse 33.
And now I announce unto you that the children of Yasharah will not keep true to this ordinance, and they will not circumcise their sons according to all this Torah. For in the flesh of their circumcision they will omit this circumcision of their sons, and all of them, sons of Belial, will leave their sons uncircumcised as they were born. And there will be great wrath from Yahweh against the children of Yasharah, because they have forsaken his covenant, and turned aside from his word, and provoked and blasphemed, inasmuch as they do not observe the ordinance of this Torah. For they have treated their members like the Gentiles, so that they may be removed and rooted out of the land, and there will no more pardon or forgiveness unto them, so that there should be forgiveness and pardon. For all this sin is of this eternal error.
All right. Let's go to Enoch chapter 6. We're going to go to the book of Enoch. And depending on what publisher of Enoch you have, it could be Enoch 5, 6, or 7. It's either book before, book after. But these are short chapters. Enoch chapter 6.
Enoch 6 and verse 1. In those days when the children of man had multiplied, it happened that there were born unto them handsome and beautiful daughters. And the angels, the children of heaven, saw them and desired them. And they said to one another, Come, let us choose wives for ourselves from among the daughters of men, and beget us children. And Semyaz, being their leader, said unto them, I fear that perhaps you will not consent that this deed should be done, and I alone will become responsible for this great sin.
All right. First of all, we have to understand angels are spirits. They're not flesh. They're not fleshly creatures. They don't reproduce. If we go into the scriptures, Yeshua cleared that out. They're neither male or female. They don't reproduce. They don't give to marriage, and they're not given in marriage, which means they don't have any sex organs. Because if you were given in marriage, the only way that you could consummate that marriage is to have sex organs. So what it's talking about here is in a spiritual sense. A spirit enters, penetration. That is the difference. When that spirit enters into that person, it causes that person to do things that they shouldn't be doing, because they still have to fight the flesh. And now their flesh is desiring to do things that the flesh wouldn't have known anything about if it wasn't for that spirit. So once man started to take in that spirit that was not Yah, we were supposed to be, that's why he calls it spiritual adultery, because we are allowing another spirit to penetrate us when we are married unto the Most High. So we have to get that Greek mind frame out, everything carnal, like in heaven, you have a bunch of men with wings in heaven, or men and women with wings, and they're coming down here and having sex with humans and having these supernatural powers. That's comic book, that's Greek. Go ahead.
Verse 4. But they all responded to him, Let us all swear an oath and bind everyone among us by a curse, not to abandon this suggestion, but to do the deed. Then they all swore together and bound one another by the curse. And they were together 200, and they descended into Ardos, which is the summit of Hermon. And they called the mount Armon, for they swore and bound one another by a curse. And their names are as follows: Semyaz, the leader of Arakeb, Ramael, Tamel, Remel, Danel, Ezekiel, Barakal, Azel, Armoros, Batarel, Ananel, Zekiel, Sosmaspuel, Kestarel, Turel, Yamayol, and Arzael. These are their chiefs of tens, and all of the others with them.
Go ahead, continue to verse 7. We're going to go through we're going to go through chapter 8.
And they took wives unto themselves, and everyone respectively chose one woman for himself, and they began to go unto them. And they taught them magical medicine, incantations, the cutting of roots, and taught them about plants.
All right, so this is how they're going into them. They're giving them knowledge. And it doesn't necessarily have to be penetrating them in a sense, but exposing them to spirit. And this is why people like to take that doctrine of Adam and Eve, how Satan slept with Eve and all this type of stuff. She didn't physically sleep with her, but a new child was created out of that because he gave her spirit information that she should have never been privy to, which caused her to have to fight with her flesh when she wouldn't have known to fight with her flesh to make a decision. All she knew was righteousness. So it's the same thing with these women here. They're being penetrated spiritually the same way. They're being taught all these different things: magical medicine, incantation, the cutting of roots, and they're being taught about plants. And we know that different plants can cause different things. You can take of a certain kind of plant, it turns you superhuman. What was it? Heron and PCP and all these type of drugs, angel dust. These things can turn you into superhuman. Go ahead.
Verse 1 from chapter 7.
2.
Verse 2. And the woman became pregnant and gave birth to great giants whose heights were 300 cubits. These giants consumed the produce of all the people until the people detested feeding them. So the giants turned against the people in order to eat them. And they began to sin against birds, wild beasts, reptiles, and fish. And their flesh was devoured, the one by the other, and they drank blood. And the earth brought an accusation against the oppressors. Chapter 8. And Azazel taught the people the art of making swords and knives and shields and breastplates. And he showed to their chosen ones bracelets, decorations, the shadowing of the eye with antimony, ornamentation, the beautifying of the eyelids, all kinds of precious stones, and all coloring, tinctures, and alchemy.
So this is where we get all this stuff from. Weapons, how we can destroy people, kill people, hurt people, and how we got all the makeup, which is, where you can take somebody who looks a certain way and completely change the way they look. All these things came about because these angels came down here and gave information to people that should never have got this information. And it doesn't necessarily mean we weren't going to get that information sooner or later, but we weren't supposed to receive it from these angels that got it. Go ahead.
Verse 2. And there were many wicked ones, and they committed adultery and erred, and all their conduct became corrupt. Amsaras taught incantation and the cutting of roots. Armoros, the resolving of incantations, and Barakial, astrology. Kokarael, the knowledge of the signs, and Tamel taught the seeing of the stars, and Asdarel taught the course of the moon as well as the deception of man.
And that's interesting. Asdarel taught the course of the moon as well as deception of man. So this course of the moon is tied in with the deception of man. And all the translations don't have this. Some of the translations don't have this, but it's very interesting because the moon is being used by a large part of our people to calculate the calendar month. And if you're calculating the calendar month by the moon's course, this is going to throw your holy days off. So this is deception of man. And man say, you see here, look, every Passover, it's a full moon. See, it's a full moon. Yeah, because you're using the moon. So if my watch is set an hour off. And you see 24 hours ago it was 8 o'clock because your watch was off for 24 hours.
It's set that way.
Go ahead.
Verse 4, and the people cried and their voice reached unto heaven.
So you can see how these angels would mislead us and push us into different directions. Let's go back into the Torah. Go to Devarim chapter 18. Deuteronomy chapter 18. So all these different things, when you give something too early to somebody, it could mess them up. Not necessarily that these things were bad things all the way around, but when it's given outside of the will of the Most High, it can be destructive. You can't give a baby a tool, a sharp tool. He might turn around and cut himself or cut somebody else. But that baby grows up and gets to a certain age and becomes a young boy or a young man. He can now use that tool to do good deeds, to help around the house, to prepare food, to cut wood or whatever. But when you're giving people things too early out of Yah's will, it can be a problem. So now Yah has to create all these different ways and to deal with this knowledge that's now in the earth that wasn't supposed to be here yet. Deuteronomy, Devarim chapter 18. And we're going to read verses 9 through 22.
When you are come into the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you, you shall not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone that makes his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that uses divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch.
Now, these are practices, these are real things that are happening. People are doing divination, even where we used to train for mixed martial arts. You know, it's African martial arts, and they you know, they admit that they do divination, and that's part of their training. Well, that's part of the training we're not going to reach. We're just not going to reach that part of the training. But these are the African nations. A lot of these countries still use these things. And some of the slaves picked up some of these same practices and were actually using these things. But there is a reason why we're not supposed to be doing that. Because you think you talking to your dead relative. You talking to that same evil angel that was around, that was misleading those nations thousands of years ago, teaching them all this type of knowledge that they weren't supposed to have. And this is why Yahweh specifically made commandments in here saying, stay away from these things. Because you're dabbling in information, not that it doesn't exist. Like an idol is just fake, period. But these dark spirits and magical things, they truly exist. Because these evil angels and these demons exist. So he tells us, stay away from that. You're not ready for that kind of knowledge. You can't handle that because you can't handle just basic commandments. Go ahead.
Verse 11. Or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto Yahweh, and because of these abominations, Yahweh your Elohim does drive them out from before you. You shall be perfect with your Elohim. For these nations which you shall possess hearkened unto observers of times, unto diviners. But as for you, Yahweh your Elohim has not suffered you to do so.
If you have the creator of all things that directs your steps and tells you what you need to do and tells you where you can go and where you can't go, how disrespectful is it to go to his subordinates under him and try to get direction from them when you got it straight from the top, straight as high as you can go up, telling you what you need to do? That's showing that you don't have faith in the Most High, and that's showing you that you don't respect the Most High when you do these things. This is why it's wicked to be doing all those different things. Because you're saying, well, I don't trust my father to guide me and direct me where I need to go. I don't trust my father to protect me. So I'm going to go to my nephews and cousins and brothers and whoever is going to tell me something. And I'm going to trust them over trusting Yahweh. Because even if you do familiar spirits, so you're going to believe what some voice out the air told you? You're going to believe that with no proof. You're going to believe that. But you're not going to believe Yahweh, who's shown and proven himself time and time after time, ages after ages, generation after generation. How disrespectful is that? Go ahead.
Verse 15, Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 15. Yahweh your Elohim will raise up unto you a prophet from the midst of you, of your brethren, like unto me. Unto him shall you hearken, according to all that you desired of Yahweh your Elohim in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Yahweh my Elohim, neither let me see this great fire any more, that I die not. And Yahweh said unto me, they have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren.
So if it's a prophet that's from among their brethren, that means they're the children of Yasharah. So that means if Christ come in any other image except for ours, then we know that's not him, because that's not our brethren. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So we know Caesar Borgia cannot be Christ. Go ahead.
Verse 19.
And if you don't know who Caesar Borgia is, go Google Caesar Borgia. Don't Google the words describing who he is. Just Google the picture. And once you look at the picture, you'll know who that is. Go ahead.
18. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren like unto you, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. If you say in your heart, no, how shall we know the word which Yahweh has spoken?
So in verse 20, the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other mighty ones or idols, even that prophet shall die. So if you sitting up here talking about, well, I spoke to God last night and he told me that something great is going to happen to you. If Yahweh didn't talk to you and you're speaking to another God, because God, G-A-W-D, is a Phoenician deity of fortune. This is why they have this prosperity doctrine where you pray to God and his blessing is money. His blessing isn't, well, you're going to learn and see the wickedness of your ways and repent. No, his blessing is you're going to win the lotto. You're going to meet that girl you've been looking for all your life. All these different things that pertain to only you and not to your nation. Go ahead. Finish that up.
Verse 21. And if you shall say in your heart, how shall we know the word which Yahweh has not spoken? When a prophet speaks in the name of Yahweh, if the thing follow not nor come to pass, that is the thing which Yahweh has not spoken. But the prophet has spoken it presumptuously, you shall not be afraid of him.
So you know that he's not a prophet if he spoke something in Yahweh's name and it didn't come about. So how can you have all these camps and Jehovah Witnesses and all these people talking about the world going to end in 2000 because they prophet, and their prophets are the ones that can rewrite the Bible because they have a commission that rewrites the Bible every year and interprets it for us? How is that going to be if what you spoke didn't come about? You had this one dude from 2012. What was it, Harold Camping? First he said it was in 1998 or 99 or something like that was supposed to happen. The world going to end. Then it was 2000. Then it was 2012. And he'd have another one if he didn't die. He died.
Oh, man.
He died. He would have had another one. But people are still following this stuff. And then using the book to explain following this guy. All right, let's go to 1 John chapter 4. So we understand that there are spirits out there that are misleading the other nations. We understand that. We understand that there are evil spirits out there that you can do all kind of things that Yahweh commands us not to do. Divination and necromancing and all this other things that the other nations used to do that caused them to get kicked out of the land. All these occult type things. So you know this is out there. You know that we're surrounded by spirits. You know your adversary is looking, roaring, roaming like a lion looking to devour. We know all these things. So, and we also know that we are going to be led of the Spirit. Yahweh is not going to come down here and manifest into a Zeus-looking person that's going to stand in front of you every day and say, go this way, go that way. It's not going to happen. A spirit is going to guide you and where to go. So how do you know which way, which spirit to listen to? That's what you have your book for. That's what you have your commandments. This is how he directs our steps. So Yohanan is going to talk about this and being careful with listening to these spirits.
First Yohanan chapter 4 and verse 1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of Elohim, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. Hereby know you the spirit of Elohim. Every spirit that confesses that Yahshua Mashiach is come in the flesh is of Yahweh.
So that is a line in the sand. I don't care who you're talking to. They cannot help you spiritually if they don't understand that Yahshua HaMashiach is the son of Elohim and came in the flesh. Now, they can give you knowledge, just like you can go to a Gentile that's an atheist and you can get some knowledge. And they can teach you some things that might be of righteousness, because there's universal righteousness. But when it comes to things of the spirit, they can't help you because they don't have the spirit of truth. They're not part of the body. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And every spirit that confesses not that Yahshua Mashiach is come in the flesh is not of Elohim. And this is that spirit of anti-Mashiach, whereof you have heard that it should come, even now already it is in the world.
So if this would be anti-Mashiach, anti-anointing, it'd be an unanointing. The spirit of unanointing, the spirit of unspirit, the spirit of death coming upon you. Because the Mashiach is the spirit of life. He's the light of man, that light of all the men of the world. So when these people come at you that don't have this spirit and are not of the body, does not mean that they're not of the body physically, like they're not bloodline Israel. That's our focus. That's who we going after. Those are the lost sheep, the people that don't believe in the Mashiach. Because that's who all the disciples was tearing with. The people that didn't believe in the Mashiach. But now you have a teaching of people saying, well, they don't believe in the Mashiach, don't deal with them. That's the people we're supposed to be helping. Just because you confess with your mouth, I believe in Christ, but your actions are showing that you don't believe in Christ, you're in the same category with somebody whose actions is the same way, but say they don't believe in the Mashiach. There's just one person, no, he bloodline Israel, the other one don't. So don't get it twisted. People will try to tell you, don't talk to these people, don't help these people. That's the very people that need the help. Now, you can't force them. But if they bloodline Israel, they're still a priority, just like the Christian is a priority. Go ahead.
Verse 4. You are of Elohim, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. They are of the world, therefore speak they of the world, and the world hears them.
You want to test that? Post some worldly stuff on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram and see how many likes and how much attention you get. Post some spiritual stuff up there and see how much attention you get. Those people of the world, they're not caring about that. Go ahead.
Verse 6. We are of Elohim. He that knows Elohim hears us, and he that is not of Elohim does not hear us. Where hereby know we the spirit of truth and the spirit of error.
Spirit of truth is they hear the commandments. Now, just because somebody doesn't hear you don't mean they don't have the spirit of truth. Are you speaking according to commandments? Or are you speaking out of pride? Now, those that don't hear you, they are of the spirit of error. They're not dealing with the Most High at that moment. But we don't want to start judging people and say, well, because you didn't hear these commandments right now, you are not of Elohim. That's not the case, because we were all in that same position at one point. That's why we are not to judge, and we're supposed to have mercy and tarry and be patient with people. Go ahead.
Verse 7. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of Elohim. And everyone that loves is born of Elohim and knows Elohim. He that loves not knows not Elohim, for Yahweh is love.
And this is another one they bastardized. They like to take this one verse, God is love, He is love. He's just the loveliest, lover guy of all time. Which is true. But that statement only is correct when that person is saying it if they understand what love is. Love is these commandments. Point blank. He told you, for this is my love, that you will bear much fruit. This is my love, that you will keep the commandments. This is love. So for understanding that God is love, the commandments tell you sometimes you got to tell somebody something that they don't want to hear because it's going to save them. You got to tell somebody that they're wrong. And that person may be somebody that is carnally over you, like your mother or your father, or your older sibling, or your boss, or whatever. Sometimes you have to put yourself in that position. You have to be able to say the things that they don't want to hear out of love because you love them. Because if you didn't love them, you would tell them what they want to hear so you can get what you want from them. Go ahead.
Verse 9. In this was manifested the love of Yahweh toward us, because that Yahweh sent his only begotten Son into the world, that we might live through him. Herein is love, not that we loved Yahweh, but that he loved us and sent his Son to be the propitiation for our sins.
So to remove that carnality out of your head, every time you see Son, Yahshua, Christ, Mashiach, any of that, replace that with just the word. And now it will make sense to you. In this was manifested that Yahweh loved toward us, because that Elohim sent his only begotten Son. He sent his word into the world that we may live through him, through the word.
Conference number 9. To return to your main conference.
Herein is a love, not that we loved Elohim, but that he loved us and sent his Son to be propitiation for our sins. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 11. Beloved, if Yahweh so loved us, we ought also to love one another. No man has seen Yahweh at any time. If we love one another, Elohim dwells in us, and his love is perfected in us. Hereby we know that we dwell in him, and he in us, because he has given us of his Spirit. And we have seen and do testify that the Father sent the Son to be the Savior of the world. Whosoever shall confess that Yahshua is the Son of Yahweh, Elohim, dwells in him, and he in Elohim. And we have known and believed the love that Elohim has to us. Yahweh is love, and he that dwells in love dwells in Elohim, and Elohim in him.
And you can replace that word with love with the commandments. Elohim is these commandments, and he that dwells in the commandments dwells in Elohim. Go ahead.
Verse 17. Herein is our love made perfect, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment, because as he is, so are we in this world.
So as he was a man with like passions as us, Yahshua HaMashiach, that had to fight the temptation of sin, that had all these spiritual gifts that he could use for himself, but instead he used his gifts to serve his nation, to the point where he gave up his life for his nation at the instruction of his Father. This is the same thing that he's given us to do, to give up our lives. The only difference is he asked Yahshua, the head, to physically give up his life. He's asking us to spiritually give up our life and say, listen, I have the choice to walk according to my flesh. I can do that. But because my Father said not to do that, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give up this life and I'm going to walk in the Spirit. Finish that up, brother.
Verse 18. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear has torment, and he that fears is not made perfect in love.
So if you are dealing with the spirit of fear, and that's not the same as Yahweh, which is a reverence for the Most High. The fear of Yah is the beginning of knowledge and wisdom. That's not what that is. That's the timidity, the fear, the afraid to do the right thing because of what may happen. That will cause you to not be guided by the Most High, because you're being guided by the flesh. The flesh is in fear of losing something that's going to benefit it. But the flesh is going to expire. So the focus needs to be on having a Yahweh for Yah, a reverence for the Most High, and not fear and not be careful in doing the things of righteousness. Now you should fear doing wickedness. Go ahead.
Verse 19. We love him because he first loved us. If a man say, I love Elohim, and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he that loves not his brother whom he has seen, how can he love Elohim whom he has not seen? And this commandment have we from him, that he who loved Elohim loved his brother also.
All right. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Second Thessalonians chapter 2, and that's right before Timothy and after Colossians. You know, anytime we enter anything that has a possibility for some kind of reward, some kind of gain, if we enter that with timidity and a fear, you're bridling, you're holding back all the glory that the Most High can receive in that manner, because there's going to be some kind of torment coming with that. There's going to be some kind of half-stepping, and you're not giving your all. But when you commit your thoughts to the Most High, commit your works to the Most High, your thoughts will be established, because you're removing that fear. Because I know anything good that I try to do towards the Most High, He's going to cause that to grow. And how He's going to cause that to grow is He's going to direct me into the right path, into doing the right thing to do, and to doing the thing that will be successful. Now, His idea of success may not match our idea of success. We might think our idea of success is we gonna make $1 million. But Yahweh said, no, in that same quest, you're gonna make $1 million. You're not gonna make the $1 million, but you're gonna help a whole lot of people, and you're gonna walk your way into the kingdom. But the problem is we're afraid to not get what we want instead of getting what the Most High wants for us. So that's where that fear comes in. Well, I might not make that $1 million. So let me just do this so I know I can get, because I've seen these Gentiles do this and it works for them. They lie, steal, and cheat, and rob, and kill, and do all that. It works for them. It's just business. It's not personal. Stealing, lying, wickedness is wickedness regardless. I don't care what kind of transaction it is. Wow. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, and we're going to start this at verse 1.
Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Master Yahshua Mashiach, and by our gathering together unto him, that you be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as that day of Mashiach is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called Elohim, or that is worshipped, so that he as Elohim sits in the temple of Elohim, showing himself that he is Elohim. Remember you not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things? And now you know what withholds, that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity does already work. Only he who now lets will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the master shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the work of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved.
And when it's talking about here in verse 7, it says, for the mystery of iniquity does already work. Only he that lets will let until he be taken out the way. And we see this in our lives. And I don't know why they kind of wrote it that way, because when the word letteth, what they're talking about here is hindering. The person that is hindering, that's standing in the way and stopping us from becoming righteous, stopping us from manifesting, stopping us from being successful. He is going to continue doing that until he's taken out of the way. And this is how we see happening in our lives. A lot of people that are roadblocks to us, to being a better citizens of the kingdom, better servants of the Most High. They will stand in your way and continue doing that in these latter days until Yahweh removes them out. You don't have to leave them. Yahweh will remove them. When you come in this word, you don't have to cut people off. All you have to do is walk in righteousness and shine your light, and these people will disappear. They will remove themselves, because the law was made in the very beginning. Light and dark cannot dwell together. Light is going to push away dark, or dark is going to swallow light. So either you're going to be swallowed up in the darkness and become like them, or light is going to push the darkness away, or they're going to have to become light themselves. They're going to have to be reborn. Darkness can't just turn to light. It's not made of the same thing. It's void. So it has to be recreated and become a light. That light is Yahshua HaMashiach, this word. So you don't have to remove people. They will remove themselves. And just because they remove themselves, it may be for a season. Doesn't mean it's forever. So you don't judge them and cut them off forever. Let them go. Let them do what they do. You continue being an example. We have a comment over here?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Elder.
I'm glad you said that, because what goes along with that, when you talk about the mystery, of iniquity do already work, you got to look at what said Matthew chapter 13, verse 11. It says, he answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. And what people have to understand is that, just like you said, at that time, Yahweh is trying to train you because he has your ear. You have become his sheep, and you hear his voice, so you follow him. But at that time, your friends that seemed to be your friends back in the world, they was all by your side, ride or die, that type of attitude. When you become a child of the Most High, it doesn't go along with their game. So, look at you, well, damn, you changed, you look like you're kind of crazy, whatever like that. Or because they respect you, they say, well, we can't roll with each other like we used to. So after a while, you want to be parted from each other. Well, that doesn't mean that they're subject to lake of fire at that moment. That's Yahweh's judgment. It's just that right then and there, Yahweh called you, and he ministered unto you. Now, later date, he may call them. That's his choice. Right. So we have to give, love, but he said give love, and don't be judging people that you're going to lake of fire. But, it's like if you want to continue breaking Yahweh's commandments and you die, well, does say, once man is appointed to die, then the judgment. Right. So what do you have in the bank? You have law-breaking life. You haven't followed Yahweh, but you are going to get mercy. When you pass on, you lying in your grave. You get mercy in the flesh. So yeah, it is right to understand that when Yahweh calls you, he's going to train you the way he wants you to fit in his equation in a family. But others, they may not be ready for that. He knows they may not be ready for that. So just give them a love and let it do. Because Yahweh going to take them out your life because there may be, as you say, a hindrance in your life at that time.
Right. People, a lot of times you'll find out people are around you because they can gain something from you. And when they were gaining, especially servants of the Most High, you didn't just automatically get your gifts when you became a servant. And often you received new gifts when you became a servant. But people, a lot of times in this world, were around you for some kind of gain. Because you helped them make money. Because, you were, an attractive person that attracted a lot of people. Or you were a funny person. Or, you were a life of the party. Or you would help them do illegal stuff that they would gain from. And if this was the nature of your relationship before, and now you come into righteousness and you've built a bond with this person, you're like, well, we're friends, we're family, or we're bond together in a covenant. And then they start to see, wait a minute, all these things that I covenanted myself with you, I'm not receiving those things anymore. That's right. These people will flee. You don't have to cut them off. And when they flee, that doesn't necessarily mean, like you said, that that's forever. That's not for us to judge. Because you judge, you're in danger of damnation. Yeshua never once in this book ever said to somebody, you go into the lake of fire. And he could see man's heart.
That's right.
He never said that. He said you're in danger of damnation.
That's right.
So if he didn't say that, and he's the one that knows man's hearts and can judge, how we have the right to say that? And when you do that, you could be the one that walks into righteousness first. That person rejects you, gets dealt with, repents, and you fall off. Because you thought you was the judge. You can tell people what they should do and what they shouldn't do. Mm-hmm. So you don't know what, like you said, we don't know the future. Mm-hmm. I'm sure plenty of people would have said Saul or Paul oh, he's going to the lake of fire. And by right, if you judging like a man, that's where he should be. But not according to Yahshua. He said, no, he's a special vessel unto me. Go ahead.
Verse 10. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause Elohim shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie.
So he said all things are for Elohim, whether they be good or whether they be bad, it's for his purpose. Mm-hmm. So if you decide, well, I'm not going to listen to this righteousness, I'm not going to repent, I'm going to ignore the spirit of Yasharal that's trying to lead me and show me where I need to go. I'm going to ignore the Holy Spirit. I'm going to ignore the counsels that he put around me. And I'm going to do what I want to do. Then Yahweh's going to say, okay, here you go. You chose to be a wicked vessel. Mm-hmm. I got somebody because I'm trying to prove this servant right here. Go over there and be wicked. Go ahead.
Verse 12. That they all might be judged who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. But we are bound to give thanks always to Elohim for you, brethren, beloved of the Master, because Elohim has from the beginning chosen you to salvation through sanctification of the Spirit and belief of the truth.
Sanctification of the Spirit. In other words, it's supposed to be one Spirit. That same Spirit is supposed to be around you, not these other evil, wicked spirits. You allowed them spirits to come into you. The Spirit, if the adversary, the devil, came to Yahshua and dealt with Yahshua after he fasted 40 days and 40 nights and tried him and left after a while when he realized he wasn't going to break, what makes you think these evil spirits going to hang around you all day? You ain't that important. Yahshua, the key to salvation was here and they fled from him. What makes you think they're going to hang around you? So we're not supposed to allow any of these spirits. We're supposed to sanctify the spirit of truth. Sanctify the spirit of Yahweh. Sanctify the spirit of Elohim. Sanctify the spirit of Yasharal in us and not allow these wicked spirits to enter us. Because when those spirits enter us, in other words, we allow the body to yield to those spirits, then we've committed adultery. No other spirit was supposed to penetrate us but the spirit of righteousness. Go ahead.
Verse 13. But we are bound to give thanks always to Elohim for you, brethren, beloved of the Master, because Elohim has from the beginning chosen you to salvation through sanctification of the Spirit and belief of the truth. Whereunto he called you by our good news to the obtaining of the glory of our Master Yahshua Mashiach. Therefore, brethren, stand fast and hold the traditions which you have been taught, whether by word or by our epistle. Now, our Master Yahshua Mashiach himself and Yahweh, even our Father, which has loved us and has given us everlasting consolation and good hope through grace, comfort your hearts and establish you in every good work and word.
All right. So, our Adonai Yahshua HaMashiach himself and Yahweh, our Father, will comfort our hearts and establish us in every good word and work. So your success is guaranteed if you're in every good word and work. If you're doing that which is good, he's going to comfort our hearts and establish us because we are committing our works unto Yahweh. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to the conclusion. Let's go to Matthew chapter 7. Matthew chapter 7.
Matthew, chapter 7 and verse 1. Judge not, that you be not judged. For with what judgment you judge, you shall be judged. And with what measure you measure, it shall be measured to you again. And why behold you the mote that is in your brother's eye, but consider not the beam that is in your own eye?
If you got a beam in your own eye, you're going to have difficulty seeing where you're going. You're going to have difficulty following the path that Yahweh is setting for you. But it's easy to see the little mote in somebody else's eye because it allows you not to have to look at the beam that's in your own eye. Go ahead.
Verse 4. Or, this is Matthew chapter 7. Matthew chapter 7 and verse 4. Or how will you say to your brother, let me pull out the mote out of your eye, and behold, a beam is in your own eye? You hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of your own eye, and then shall you see clearly to cast out the mote out of your brother's eye. Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast you your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet, and turn again and rend you. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that seeks receives, and he that seeks finds. And for everyone that asks receives, and he that seeks finds. And to him that knocks it shall be opened. Or what man is there of you, whom if his son ask bread, will he give him a stone? Or if he ask a fish, will he give him a serpent? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts unto your children, how much more shall your Father which is in heaven give good things to them that ask him?
But the problem is we want to ask for material things. We want to ask for that house, that money, that car, that job. You know, we want to ask for all those different things. But if we would just ask, guide me, show me the way, create in me a clean heart, forgive me, all these type of things. If the wicked man is giving his son all these things, how much more will the Father give us? But we don't want to ask for those things. We don't want to ask for his guidance. We want to ask for what we want, period. And what we want is often not gotten because of like what James says, is because we'll consume it with the flesh, the lust of our flesh. Go ahead.
Verse 12. Therefore, all things whatsoever you would that men should do to you, do you even so to them, for this is the law and the prophets. Enter you in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat.
So if you see a way to walk and you see everybody walk in that direction, that means stop and think. Everybody's going that direction. Why? We know that the gate is narrow and very few go therein. So that means if all mass of people are going that direction, statistically that's the wrong way. Go ahead.
Verse 14. Because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leads unto life, and few there be that find it. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves.
Well, beware of false prophets. They come to you with fringes hanging. Go ahead.
You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so every good tree brings forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree brings forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that brings not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits you shall know them.
Okay, so carnally, we may have came from a father that may not have been the best character person. But who is your father? The carnal person is your father, or is your spiritual father your father?
Yah is our father.
Right. Remember, Cain and Abel came from the same father. So did Esau and Jacob. Excuse me, Esau and Jacob. Go ahead.
The children of Belial. Those angels bore fruit after all.
Exactly.
Verse 21. Not everyone that says unto me, Master, Master, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that does the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name, and in your name have cast out devils, and in your name done many wonderful works? Then I will profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you that work iniquity. Therefore, whosoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock. And the rains descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And everyone that hears these sayings of mine and does them not shall be likened unto a foolish man which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it.
All right, so everyone that hears the sayings of mine and does them not shall be likened unto a foolish man who built his house on the sand. So Yahshua gave us his sayings, which were his Father's sayings. These weren't his words. These are coming straight from the Father. So we have the instructions and we have the direction. We have to choose to follow the right spiritual guidance, because you have one spirit here on the left side that's trying to lead you into destruction, into death, because he knows that's all that's left for him is death. Then you have another spirit in the Mashiach that's trying to lead you to righteousness, is trying to lead you to life. But you have to make the decision, which spiritual guidance am I going to take? Because you can call yourself not spiritual, but one way or another, you're taking spiritual guidance. Whether it's the evil spirits that are leading the Gentiles into the wrong direction, or whether the spirit of righteousness that's trying to lead his chosen people in the right direction. So all these things are in front of us. And it is a just extreme disrespect when we try to come before the Most High to make a decision when we know there's a clear right and wrong, and we looking for him to give us a sign to do the right thing. That's why Yahshua called that an evil and adulterous nation. We are given instructions of what to do, what we can't do. And when we fall off path, we have spiritual guidance to bring us back on. But often that spiritual guidance is going to cause you to have to ignore the flesh, because the flesh is going to want you to do what's going to please it at that moment. So let us all consider that in every decision that we make. How does this pertain to the commandments, and how does this glorify the Most High? Because again, like we read, you commit your works unto your thoughts unto the Most High. Your works to the Most High, your thoughts will be established. So that's all we're going to do today. Any last questions or comments before we close in prayer? All right, let's go ahead and end in prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem, where our temple was and where our temple in Yahshua shall return. All right, Brother Jonathan, can you go ahead and close us out in prayer?
Heavenly Father, Yah, we thank you, O Yah, for your everlasting mercies, O Yah, and all your favor that you've shown amongst those, Yahweh, who are seeking to draw near unto you lawfully, as your word tells us to. We didn't enter into the windows and avoid the door. That those who enter not by the door are thieves, Yahweh, but we do our best to give heed to your commandment, to enter in through the door and walk, and by the word of your Son, to walk in by that straight gate, the narrow gate. For wide is the path that leads to destruction, O Yah. Yahweh, we pray you continue to illuminate our path and make these narrow ways broad so that our feet do not slip, O Yah, but that this becomes an easy route to you, Yahweh, as you remove all the stumblings, Yahweh, and all the hindrances, Yahweh, as we learn to be more obedient unto you, Yahweh, and you may call us your friends as we go nearer and nearer to your heart and grow closer and closer to sharing your understanding, Yahweh. We thank you, O Yahweh, for this opportunity to meet together and sup on your word, Yah, and we pray you continue to strengthen us and increase us as it is according to your will, Yah. In the name of Yahshua we pray. Amen.
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 Strength and guidance.
Goodbye.
To bust up this side.